Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Spin It, the record ranking podcast for people who would rather be listening to music. It's another Backtracks, another little mini episode.
We're back on the track of the Doobie Brothers.
That's right.
Tracking them down, hunting them down. We're hunting down the Doobie Brothers.
That's right.
The trail went cold on Toulouse Street, but minute by minute, we searched until we found them yet again.
Yeah, in episode 142, we talked about Toulouse Street. I think it was maybe the wrong choice. I love the album, and in some ways, it was the right choice. I think it's got a lot of instrumental diversity.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what you define as the wrong choice. Was it the wrong choice for me or the wrong choice for the podcast?
Yeah, I think Toulouse Street's dynamic in a way that Minute by Minute maybe isn't, but I think Minute by Minute is the right choice for you. If I had to bet, oh man, every time I put on Minute by Minute, I regret it. Not picking it for the episode. But I'm happy to have Toulouse Street in the mix. So, in the episode, you gave Toulouse Street an 8, which is pretty good.
Sure did.
Sometimes I think these backtrack episodes, I'm not sure how much we could improve versus, I just want to see if I did the best that I could have.
You can improve a lot. Difference between an 8 and a 9 is substantial.
It's true. And I gave Toulouse Street an 87.1. So we're both kind of pretty solid. But I really think Minute by Minute just has a little special sauce. It's almost a totally different Doobie Brothers. Their sound has evolved and matured so much in just these couple years between the records. Little info specifically about Minute by Minute that we didn't talk about. The Doobie Brothers on Minute by Minute that were on Toulouse Street were Pat Simmons on guitar and vocals, John Hartman on the drums, Tieran Porter on the bass, and actually Tom Johnston contributes a couple backing vocals on Don't Stop to Watch the Wheels, even though he wasn't officially in the band at this point. He's kind of pursuing a solo career and recovering from some medical problems. And then we've got a slew of newbie Doobies, as I called them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Doobie Brothers that are new on Minute by Minute, or at least new that we didn't talk about in the episode. Jeff Skunk Baxter plays the guitar, and we did talk about him as a rocket scientist. Keith Knudsen plays the drums. And of course, probably the biggest difference, or one of them, between Toulouse Street and this record is the addition of keyboardist and singer Michael McDonald. He joined the band as an emergency hire after Tom Johnston's hospitalization. They said, oh crap, we need a new vocalist. Who do we get? And as it happens, Skunk Baxter was an alum of yacht rockers Steely Dan. And he said, hey, I know this guy from Steely Dan. He's great. You'll love him. Michael McDonald, get him in here. And what an addition. He is honestly, genuinely, one of my favorite singers in rock music. He's just got such a unique, soulful voice. Just such a rich tone. Is really, truly one of a kind. Whereas Toulouse Street was the Doobie Brothers' sophomore album, Minute by Minute is their 8th album. So they've had a ton more time to develop their style and sound. They've got a lot more clout and experience as rock musicians for this one. Obviously, Tom Johnston's songwriting is pretty much not here, and we're fully in this McDonald-Simmons era. So by this time, you'll kind of notice that they've all but abandoned that country-steeped southern rock biker gang type sound that we talked about on Toulouse Street. And Minute by Minute is a lot cleaner, it's funkier, it's poppier, it's just kind of reinvigorated. But there's still a lot of those hallmarks, right? A lot of the core elements that we talked about on Toulouse Street are still there, like the instrumental solos, big tight vocal harmonies, just general feel-good vibes like we got on Listen to the Music. And Toulouse Street, so much of that energy carries over. Minute by Minute came out on December 1st, 1978, spent 87 weeks on the Billboard 200. 87 weeks. It was the best-selling record in the country for 5 non-consecutive weeks in 1979, and today it's sold more than 3 million copies and is certified triple platinum. One of those copies is currently in my record collection.
Nice.
I know. Actually, to be honest, even before we did the episode, I had the option to buy Toulouse Street or Minute by Minute.
Oh, really?
And I bought Minute by Minute.
You've been plagued by this choice for a long time.
I have. Part of it was the Toulouse Street records were in worse condition, scratched and, not as good. But still, yes, I have been mulling this over for months. The 3 big A-side singles from the record were What a Fool Believes, Minute by Minute, and Dependent on You. Did you know any of those beforehand? You had some Doobie Brother familiarity.
Oh, What a Fool Believes.
Of course. In some ways, I kind of think that Minute by Minute is basically just a full album of What a Fool Believes. If you like What a Fool Believes, you're going to really like Minute by Minute. And if you don't, it's going to get real old real fast. What a Fool Believes actually topped the Billboard Hot 100. The other 2 singles cracked the top 30. And Minute by Minute also picked up some hardware it was the best pop vocal performance by a duo or group at the Grammys, where it also was nominated for Album of the Year, which is huge. And What a Fool Believes actually won 3 more Grammys, including both Record and Song of the Year. So that's unbelievable. But the real question here is, what'd you think? How does it compare to Toulouse Street? Lyrically, musically, obviously it's quite a different record.
Indeed. I think the Doobie Brothers are a perfect example of why we came up with this Backtracks concept.
Yep.
Because, I mean, it's such a different album.
It is. Night and day.
Like, it almost feels like you're talking about a different band.
I mean, half of them are different.
It's true, they're newbies.
Yeah, the newbie Doobies.
I think it's interesting to hear how much their sound has evolved over the albums, over the years.
Yeah. And this is a point, I think, where there's a full break. You know, there are crossover albums where we grow into this sound. Like The Captain and Me, you know, and Taking It to the Streets. Like, there's definitely moments where you hear old Doobies and Michael McDonald blended together more. And this is like a fully broken apart version of that. It's so far down the line that, yeah, they've kind of become borderline unrecognizable.
Yeah, I think instrumentally, they've made some very interesting glow-ups. I mean, they're so much more instrumentally complex, I think, on this album than Toulouse Street. At least from my memory of Toulouse Street.
Yeah, the soft finger-picking guitars are a thing of the past.
Yeah, and now we have these complex, poppy pianos and other instruments just creating this wall of sound that wasn't necessarily present on Toulouse Street.
Yeah, but then also there's moments like Steamer Lane Breakdown that are very acoustic and kind of country-inspired. Like, it's such an interesting snapshot of this group.
But even, like, I feel like Streamer Lane Breakdown builds into a wall of sound.
It does.
That wouldn't have happened on Toulouse Street that way.
No, I don't think any of these songs could fit on Toulouse Street at all.
Yeah. I will say, though, I don't know if any of these songs have the power of listen to the music from Toulouse Street, though.
No, that is...
I mean,
I don't know.
That one's... It's just... I think that's a standout song for the Doobie Brothers' whole career.
It is. But do you think that's a songwriting thing or a production thing?
I think What a Fool Believes is, like, the closest you get to a listen to the music. Like, What a Fool Believes is the listen to the music of this album.
Yeah, it is. And then Minute by Minute is the rockin' down the highway of this album.
Yeah.
What about Michael McDonald? The vocals obviously have changed significantly.
Yep.
Is he better? Is he worse?
He's different.
He's very different.
I think it depends on which style of the Doobie Brothers you believe is best. I mean...
Well, What a Fool Believes is best, at least.
Yeah. If you grew up maybe on the Toulouse Street Doobie Brothers, maybe you think it's worse. If you were introduced to the Doobie Brothers via Minute by Minute, you probably think they're better. I think it's whatever you were first introduced to is what you're going to lean towards.
And I think that's my problem is I kind of just got them all at once. I had a greatest hits album that I talked about in the episode that was pre-Michael McDonald, well, at least pre-Minute by Minute. So I kind of didn't know all of these hits.
Yeah.
But, you know, you start listening to the Doobies, you get What a Fool Believes, and you get Minute by Minute. So, like, I kind of got it all at once, and maybe that's why it's been so confusing.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite songs or moments that you remember?
I mean, What a Fool Believes. I mean, I'm going to keep talking about it.
Of course. Yeah.
It's a standout song. I think the Spotify plays show that too.
Yeah, it does.
Another one that I really did like, I did like Streamer Lane Breakdown a lot. I think that guitar in there reminded me of the Toulouse Street Doobie Brothers. And then I really like the drums on Streamer Lane Breakdown. How they provide an interesting cadence. Because they're not really featured in any heavy way on that. But you're listening to the guitar, but then those drums back there are just beating. And next thing you know, your head's bobbing to the beat of the drums while listening to the guitar.
Yeah.
It really provides a pulse that song would be missing without them.
It does. It's that double percussion, 2 drummers.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it shows.
Yeah. And another thing I actually kind of like about Minute by Minute is the kind of implied continuity, going from What a Fool Believes in the second track position and ending the record with How Do the Fools Survive. We kind of just exist in this little world.
Are you saying this is a concept album?
A fool's concept album. No, I'm not saying that, but...
Don't make me get the king out here.
It's clear, I think, that they definitely either think a lot about fools, like Mr. T, or maybe they meant to make it a foolish album. Who knows? But I think it's cool that it kind of ties together there. But here's the real question of the hour. Was this right? Should I have backtracked and picked the other album? How would this one have fared compared to Toulouse Street?
Well, it sounds like you wish you'd picked this one. Sounds like you're backtracking.
Oh, no. I'm totally happy about Toulouse Street.
Oh, okay.
I love it. I just think this one might have scored higher for you.
Okay.
Not that that's always my MO.
Yeah, because this is only our second one ever. Let's remind ourselves and the audience what this means.
Yeah.
Now, the whole point of these is to see, did James, or in a rarer case, maybe me, pick the right album by a specific artist to bring for the podcast, right? And so we call them Backtracks because we're going back to the tracks of that artist, and also because we want to find out, should James backtrack? You always describe it better. You should take over.
Yeah, should I backtrack and basically just admit that I picked the wrong album?
Or, as backtracks on a song work, does this piece of supplemental content back up James's original pick? It proved that he was right to pick what he picked.
Yeah, it's either going to reaffirm Toulouse Street or prove me wrong. And I am pretty convinced. With Florence and the Machine, I'm pretty sure I was right. And that proved to be true. This time, I'm pretty sure I'm wrong. There's so much to love on Minute by Minute. From Dependent on You, like the fun, funky tracks of it. There's enough pep and rock and Don't Stop to Watch the Wheels and the instrumental Steamer Lane Breakdown and You Never Change. Like, there's just so much good. And it's such an easy listen. I think a lot of the stuff that you didn't like about Toulouse Street is absent from Minute by Minute. And so I think maybe it would have done better even than an 8. But how'd I do?
You are indeed wrong.
I was wrong about Toulouse Street?
About being wrong.
Oh. Really? I made another right pick?
Yeah, I like Toulouse Street better.
Wow. What? Why?
Wow, dang.
No, I'm just curious. I was so sure.
I think it comes back to the comment I made earlier. It's whatever you were introduced to first is what your preference is going to be.
Okay, yeah.
I developed an ear for the Toulouse Street Doobie sound. Here's how what I put in my notes after listening to Minute by Minute. I think both albums deserve an 8. I think these are both 8 albums.
Okay, that's decent.
But I think I give the edge to Toulouse Street because that's what I heard first. I think if you had picked Minute by Minute and then backtracked to Toulouse Street, I'd be completely reversing my opinion right now.
So they're close.
They're close, but I think I prefer Toulouse Street.
Okay. Well, it's cool if they're close because the albums are so different. But I guess it means they maintain that quality even through so many lineup changes and just facelifts or just general changes.
Yeah. Yeah, if these were two separate artists, they would both get 8s, and that's how they would stack up Toulouse Street then Minute by Minute. Being the same artist with just two completely different sounds, I think that's part of why I am giving the edge to Toulouse Street, because I identify more with their original sound that I was first introduced to.
Okay, fair enough. Well, that's going to do it for another Backtracks episode. If you like this, once again, check out episode 142 in our feed for all our thoughts on Toulouse Street. And check out Spin It Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. And as always, at spinitpod.com. We'll see you next time for more Backtracks, and we'll see you next week for another album.
Keep spinning! I really like Doobies.
It's a pretty good one. I think Minute by Minute would have got away with it if it wasn't for us rascally kids.
If it wasn't for all those Doobie-Doobie-Doos.
I hate it. Let's go get some Doobie snacks.